In this episode, I'm going to give you an explanation as to why you have anxiety and explain the varying levels of anxiety, including mild, severe, and high functioning anxiety. The first step to making positive change is awareness, so let's get started. Welcome to Calmly Coping, where I provide overthinkers with actionable tips to cope with anxiety and stress calmly and mindfully. I'm your host, Tati Garcia. I'm a licensed therapist specializing in anxiety treatment. I love running, and I'm addicted to self-improvement books. Join me as I help you understand how to cultivate calm from within while uncovering your unique strengths so that you can live a more fulfilling life. This is episode number 1, Why Do You Have Anxiety? Anxiety can make it difficult for you to focus, relax, and cope with day-to-day stress. Maybe you feel burnt out from your responsibilities and you haven't put enough attention towards caring for yourself and your needs. It's common to have feelings of overwhelm, irritability, fears and worries, and physical symptoms. Relief from anxiety is possible. The first step to finding relief is becoming more aware of what exactly anxiety is and why you are experiencing it. That's what we're going to discuss in today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. This episode is brought to you by my free anxiety journal prompts. Inside Journaling to Calm, you'll find targeted journal prompts to help you identify where you're currently feeling stuck and what you can do to feel more calm, clarity in your life. You can download that at calmlycoping.com/journal. So what exactly is anxiety? Anxiety is an emotion as well as a mental disorder. It can help to think of anxiety as on a spectrum, with people who experience little to no anxiety on one end and people who have severe anxiety disorders on the other end. Today, you're going to learn the basics of anxiety, why it happens, what the symptoms are, and the different levels. Here are the key takeaways you will have from today's episode. The situations where having some anxiety can actually be helpful. The evolutionary roots of anxiety, and the signs of high-functioning anxiety, along with an action plan with concrete steps to help you learn more about your anxiety. Just because you've experienced anxiety, it doesn't mean that you have an anxiety disorder. Anxiety is a normal human reaction to threat or danger, and it's part of our internal alarm and warning system. It's an emotion, and when it becomes more severe and persistent, it can become a psychiatric disorder in many different forms. Anxiety as an emotion is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. Anxiety is a universal human response to a perceived threat or fear. It has evolutionary roots, and it's ultimately a survival mechanism and an instinctual human response for protection and to motivate action. So, for example, if you think back to humans in the hunter-gatherer days, if you were confronted with a lion and feared for your life, your body would automatically go into a state of fight, flight, or freeze. This means that your body would be physically primed to either fight the lion, run away, or freeze, similar to how you might see a rabbit or a deer freeze when they're afraid. So what exactly happens when this response is set into motion? Imagine you're going for a hike in the woods and you hear some rustling in the branches about 50 feet in front of you. You hear some twigs snapping as though something is moving around, and you look through the brush to see a big, dark figure. You notice that it's a bear, and it hasn't seen you yet. Without you even knowing it, your body is reacting to this potential threat. Your sympathetic nervous system is activated, which results in the release of adrenaline, increased heart rate, more shallow breathing, and blood rushing to your muscles so that you can either fight this bear or run away. And it's stopping or slowing down functions like digestion and complex thinking, such as decision-making, focusing, and planning. You can also have a lot of different physical symptoms as a result of this: nausea, upset stomach, muscle tension, etc. Your primitive reptilian brain is now running the show, and the more complex portions of your brain aren't functioning. It's hard to think critically or abstractly. Your mind and body are only concerned about one thing right now: survival. You're not thinking about having a snack or what plans you have later in the day, but you're thinking, how do I get out of danger? How do I get away without this bear recognizing me? Or how do I fight for my life if the bear starts to attack me? These responses are all helpful when you're in actual danger. The problem with anxiety is that often the danger is all in your head. So that means that it comes from the thoughts and the worries that you create, and not necessarily from a real threat or a danger like a bear in the woods. What about the time you had to prepare for a presentation at school or at work? Maybe you started worrying that you haven't prepared enough and your thoughts are all over the place. It's hard to focus because your body is now in fight or flight mode, not critical thinking mode. You feel a pit in your stomach and you start sweating. You lose your appetite and you can't stop overthinking and trying to predict how badly you might mess up. This presentation isn't life-threatening or dangerous, but your mind and body are definitely reacting like it is. At the root of all anxiety is fear, and it's usually a fear of uncertainty or of not having control over something. Anxious thoughts continue because they give you the illusion of having control. People often worry about things that they have no control over, like what others think about them, maybe receiving a medical diagnosis, or seeing a spider in your home. This illusion of control comes in because the action of worrying gives you that perceived sense that you're doing something to prepare just in case. So you feel like you're in more control. But this illusion is actually false. And excess worrying does not help you prepare for an event any more than not worrying does. The thing is that some anxiety can be helpful to serve as motivation, like to study for an exam or to prepare for a presentation. Because if you're not a little bit anxious, then you might not be concerned about preparing and you might not do as well. Anxiety turns into a disorder when it negatively impacts areas of your life, such as school, work, relationships, or your day-to-day functioning. If you've gotten into a pattern of avoidance or experiencing significant symptoms and discomfort throughout your day and your life overall, then you might have an anxiety disorder. I'm not going to go into the different types of anxiety disorders in this episode, but you can check out a blog post I have on the different types at calmlycoping.com/types. If you're struggling with significant anxiety that is negatively impacting your life and your functioning, seek the help of a mental health professional, such as a licensed therapist, counselor, social worker, or psychologist. It's okay to ask for help. There are certain people who don't necessarily qualify for an anxiety disorder because they're still able to function and be successful in daily life, but they can still experience anxiety that can sometimes be a driving force for action. Although it's not a diagnosable condition, many people refer to this as high-functioning anxiety. High-functioning anxiety is often hidden in plain sight. You might have high-functioning anxiety if you appear calm and collected on the outside, but on the inside you're struggling, doubting, and overthinking. You're probably doing things well, like your career, your family, your relationships, but you still have difficulty managing your anxiety, and it can keep you stuck, prevent you from sleeping, and result in a lot of negative self-talk. Maybe you're a perfectionist who has difficulty letting go of control and relaxing. Although you appear to be calmly coping on the outside, there's a storm going on from within. That may result in difficulty asking for help, overworking, people-pleasing, and being hard on yourself. You may consider yourself to be an overachiever, and your anxiety can sometimes propel you forward rather than leaving you frozen in fear. On the surface, you appear to be successful, together, and calm, but the way you feel on the inside can be very different. This podcast is going to focus primarily on high-functioning anxiety and people who consider themselves to be overachievers or overthinkers. I'm going to be providing tips for anxiety in general, so it can be helpful for any person, but I'm going to also have some episodes where I'm going to focus specifically and discuss more about high-functioning anxiety. So definitely send me a DM on Instagram at TatianaGLPC if this is a topic that you're interested in hearing more about. Understanding why you experience anxiety can help you make positive changes so that it does not consume you. Anxiety is meant to protect you, but our modern lives have taken us away from the threat of being attacked by a bear or a lion, at least for the most part. But the problem is that your mind and your body react in the same way, whether it's an exam, a difficult conversation, or a physical attack. Being armed with this knowledge can put you in the driver's seat of your responses in anxiety-provoking situations. So to sum up, anxiety is a normal human reaction to threat or danger and is part of our internal alarm and warning system. Anxiety has evolutionary roots, so it's a survival mechanism and an instinctual human response for protection and to motivate action. Your body gets automatically shifted into fight, flight, or freeze when you feel anxious or perceive danger. The problem with anxiety is that often that danger is all in your head, which means that it often comes from the thoughts and the worries that you create, and not necessarily that real threat or danger. There are differing levels of anxiety, ranging from mild to severe, depending on how much it impacts your life and your day-to-day functioning. And there are certain people who don't necessarily qualify for an anxiety disorder, or maybe they don't have severe anxiety because they're still able to be successful and function in daily life, but they can still experience anxiety under the surface, even though they may appear calm and collected on the outside, known as high-functioning anxiety, which I'm going to be explaining more about in future podcast episodes. So here's your action plan. I want you to journal about how anxiety impacts your life. Do you avoid anything because of your anxiety? And what does anxiety feel like for you? To take it a step further, you can download my free anxiety journal prompts. Inside Journaling to Calm, you'll find targeted journal prompts to help you identify where you're currently feeling stuck and what you can do to feel more calm, clarity in your life. You can download that at calmlycoping.com/journal. If you like this episode, I'd love to know. Please take a screenshot and share it to Instagram stories using the hashtag calmlycoping and tag me at TatianaGLPC. Regardless of where you are on the spectrum of anxiety, I know that you can do what it takes to start calmly coping and find calm from within. Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you heard, please share this episode with a friend, and please subscribe and leave me a review on iTunes. Also, remember to check me out online at calmlycoping.com and connect with me on Instagram at TatianaGLPC. All content here is for informational purposes only. This content does not replace the professional judgment of your own mental health provider. Please consult a licensed mental health professional for all individual questions and issues. Till next time, I'm Tati, and this has been Calmly Coping.